In this video, we're going to be taking a look at how to customize existing 3D models using the tools that are within Bambu Studio. Now, I should preface this video and tell you that I am absolutely brand new to 3D printing and brand new to Bambu Studio, so I don't know much necessarily. And what I'm about to show you, um, there may be uh, better ways to do what I'm about to show you, but it's something that I wanted to do right off the very beginning was customize existing 3D models. So for example, maybe putting a logo on this bucket. I really like this pen holder, for example, but I wanted to put the logo of my wife's business on the front of the sweatshirt. I thought that would be fun. These little keychains for holding chapstick, the little Stanley keychains, I wanted to be able to put my daughter's name on it. So I had all these ideas. In fact, my wife made me make these little articulated Grinches, and she wanted BFF across the front. Okay, so we had all these things that we wanted to customize. She wanted to give this to one of her coworkers, but she wanted it to say BFF on the front. So we have all these things that we want to customize. This little guy here, we might want to put a face on him, or customize it some other way. So I could just think of 1,000 different things that we would want to customize. So how do we do that in Bambu Studio? Well, come to find out, it's actually quite easy to do, but my challenge is I was watching all these videos and I got little bits and pieces from various different videos, but most of the videos I was watching were not from my version of Bambu Studio. So they were clicking on various buttons and various dialog boxes, and it wasn't matching up with what I was seeing in my version of Bambu Studio. So that's where I really struggled. Um, but at any rate, we can, the first thing I just wanted to show you was what version of Bambu Studio I'm using. Now, as of the recording of this video, this is probably the very latest version because I've only had my 3D printer for about a week. So I just recently downloaded and installed Bambu Studio. So with that all said, let's go ahead and open up a project. And we're going to start with our chapstick, our Stanley chapstick project. So this was downloaded off of MakerWorld. And just to simplify what we're doing here, I am going to go ahead and close out these additional plates because we're just going to customize this piece anyhow. And one thing I picked up in the videos that I didn't realize, if you hold down your shift key and make a selection, you can select all the parts at once. See, little tidbits I picked up along the way. And also something else that I kind of, initially it seems minor, but you can obviously zoom in and out with your mouse, but and left click and you could spin it around, but then right click to pan. Okay, so those are some little things that, as you're just opening the software for the first time, you're not going to know, but now it's kind of become second nature, right? Okay, so this is the existing model. Now I want to import what it is I want to add to customize it. And I'm just going to show you real quickly. Let's go over here to CorelDRAW. So where are we at here? Right here. So this is the file that I wanted to import. Okay, so this is how I did it. Like I said, I don't know, there may be a more elegant way to do it, but I use CorelDRAW. I've been using CorelDRAW for years and years and years to create my vector graphics. Now there's all kinds of ways you could do this, creating your vector graphics. You could do it in Adobe Illustrator. Another really good choice is the free Inkscape software. There's various apps on your phone. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to create SVG files nowadays. The various online options for creating SVGs. And so that's all we're doing is we're creating an SVG file. All right. So what I've done here, click back over here, I've actually created two pieces to this. So we've got the Harley text here, which has a fill color applied to it. And then what I did is I did a small contour around it of, in my case, I used 0.12 of a millimeter. So it's just a slight offset. And so what we're going to do is what I did is I exported two SVG files. I exported the outline and then the fill. Okay, and I think I called it that too. Harley outline, Harley fill. All right. So this is going to give me just a little bit of tolerance to fit this in place. Okay. So now we can go ahead and go back into Bambu Studio and take a look. So here we go. So we're going to select our shape and then we're going to right click and we are going to go ahead and choose add part and then we could choose SVG. Okay. And then we could do, like I said, there's the Harley outline. Now it's going to bring it in. Now, one thing that I would suggest we do, and I did, was I measured how tall this was. And so when I created my SVG, it came in actual size that I'm going to use it. So I resized the SVG and then exported it from CorelDRAW. And now we import it. And that will kind of be important when we do the next piece. So this is kind of how it brings it in by default. All right. Now, one thing that's pretty cool is if we move this yellow cube, watch what happens when we come up here to the bottom of our cup. Notice how it automatically orients it in a certain way, equal to the face, right? So that's kind of useful if I wanted to put something on the handle, for example. No, it's stuck to the handle. So now this is stuck to the cup, okay? So we could, if we wanted to, we could wrap it around. So if we wanted to just do it this way, we could click on Use Surface, and I'll see how it's wrapped the text around the surface. Now it's too big, right? It's too big to really wrap the way we want it to wrap, so we'll turn that off. But I'm just showing you we could do that, all right? So that's potentially one option there. But what I want to show you is we're going to bring it around here to what I consider the front. We can even click on down here on this little square, and now we're looking dead on at the front, right? And so now I want to go ahead and rotate this. So I'm going to click here, and we're going to rotate it 90 degrees. Okay? And then, like I said, then we can just kind of move it into place here exactly where we want it to look. Okay, and I think I am going to go with that right there. All right. So now you can kind of see what we got going on, right? So if we go over here to Objects, and we can right-click on Harley Outline, go back to Edit SVG, and what we are going to do is we are going to choose that Use Surface option. And what that will do is it'll slightly curve our text to match the face that we're applying it to. And then I'm gonna knock this down to 2.5. Okay, for my example. You could use whatever dimension you want, but I just want to show you. See how that text is a little bit bendy there? So that's what I want to show you. All right. Now we are gonna come back over here and let's just right click here and choose Change Filament, and let's go ahead and just give it a different color just so we could see this a bit more clearly. All right, so there we go. So now what I want to do is I want to move this. Okay, I want to move my text. And so we'll click on the Move tool, and you get these three axes. We can move it obviously we can move it up and down with the blue axes. We can move it left and right with the red, and we can move it into and out of our model with the green. Because remember, we said use surface. So right now our text is equal to the surface of our model. Okay? And so what we can do is we could just move it in. In my case, I'm going to move it in just probably, I'm going to go 1.5 millimeters. So what we would do is we take the 14.38. Let me pull up my calculator here. So we could go, and you can use whatever dimension you want, but I'm going to go 14. In fact, let's back, 14 3/8. 0.38, and we're going to subtract 1.5. Okay, so we want that to be 12.88. So we would just come in here and type in 12.88. And now you can see how this has been recessed into the model. See, you get that extra little shadow. All right. So now what we want to do is we want to select both of our pieces. So I'm just going to shift click. And we want to go into Mesh Boolean. So we click right here, Mesh Boolean. And this is a really simple tool because in this particular situation, it's kind of like 50-50. Either we're going to get it right or we're not. So in this case, I'm going to use the subtraction option, and part A is the piece that we're going to cut. And then part B is the piece that we are going to use to cut. Think of part B as the cookie cutter, and think of part A as the cookie dough. Okay? And we could switch those two by clicking on that. So sometimes we want to cut one versus cutting the other. Okay? And then we could choose to keep the original after we've completed our cut. And in this case, that's exactly what we want to do. We want to keep the original. So if we click on execute, we'll go ahead and do that. And you don't really see just a whole lot happen, but in fact, it has completed what we asked it to do. Okay? So now if I were to click on the Harley outline, for example, and I click on move, we could move this out. And now you will see that in fact, we have a negative space here of 1.5 millimeters into our cup. And that's exactly what we wanted. All right. So there we go. So now we have exactly what we were aiming for. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to split these two pieces apart. Okay, so that's kind of our next step, is to split these two pieces apart. So we select them, and then you can see we choose split, and then choose two objects. And now these two are no longer an assembly. When we added the SVG, when we remember we right clicked and we choose added apart, we created an assembly. And so now these two are separate pieces. All right. So what we would do is we would go ahead and add a new plate, and we would take the text, and I'm just copying it and pasting it over here, and then that becomes our secondary print. Okay, this little guy over here. And we can click on this and choose the auto orientation, and it will automatically put it on our plate the way we want it over here. But then back over here. All right. So then all we have to do to kind of finish this off is take a look at our slicing. And so let's do that. Let's go ahead and click on Slice Plate. And we should see something happen here that we don't want, but easy enough to fix. And what the issue is in regards to our supports. So you see here, it's saying that we need supports where those recesses of the Harley text is, and we don't actually need supports there. So I come to find out there's ways to paint in or paint out various supports. Now the support here, we have a little tiny support for our keychain piece, and then we definitely need a tree support for our handle. Okay, so that we definitely have to have. So we do have to have tree supports. It doesn't hurt to have the brim that the profile had by default, but we do want to take care of that support. And like I said, there is an option to paint it out, but in our case, we won't really have to do that. All right, so I'll go back in and show you how we're going to take care of that. So what we're going to do is click on support here. So I clicked on global, clicked on support, and we are going to turn on advanced options here. And we are going to support the critical regions only. And what will happen is it's going to reslice it. So we'll go ahead and reslice, and you will see that now we no longer have our issue that we had over here. See, those tree supports have gone away from the Harley indentation, and we just have the tree support for our little keychain, our brim, and our handle. So that takes care of all of that. Now, in regards to the other plate, it is, when I click on that, it is going to be using the brim and all of that stuff. And in our case, what I did was I'm using the frostbite plate, and I will tell you, if you just type in frostbite cool plate, you'll see the plate I'm using. It is really great. And this little Harley text printed out just fine without any brim or supports of any kind. So we could just turn off the tree supports, and then what we do is come over here to the others, and we are not, I would just choose auto in this particular situation, because when I did that, it went ahead and showed that as far as the brim goes, that goes away. We're not adding tree supports. This is a shallow enough curve that it printed out just fine, and no supports were needed, and it worked out just great. Okay, so that is it. That is how we customize this. Now, I have a companion video to this where we're customizing a trailer hitch, and I'm going to put the link to it in the video description below, because I think that will kind of help hit home this process of customizing inside Bambu Studio. We're going to take a little trailer hitch and we're going to add a logo to it and show you how easy it is to do that as well, using the same basic technique that we just showed you in this one. So I hope that helps you minimize your learning curve a little bit, and how we can very easily customize things. Now, back to the cup, one quick point to make about the cup. We could print the Harley text and fill our recess with that, and it looks really good, and it's fairly easy to do. Or we could, there's a product called Rub and Buff, and it's specifically designed to fill in recesses like this. So you could it just kind of rubs in. It comes in all kinds of different colors and metallics and all kinds of things, and you just rub it over the recessed area, and the Rub and Buff would stick inside the recessed area but nowhere else. So that's a really good product. It's very inexpensive, just a few dollars a tube, or we could just paint it. You could just paint it. And the paint would sit inside the recesses, and then you wouldn't have to print out the name. So I did it both ways just to see. The one thing I will note, if you do download this particular model, and I will link to it in the video description below, that hole is too tiny. It's too tiny for anything. It's a very tiny hole. So I would probably modify this and make a bigger hole, but that's a separate video. Main thing I wanted to do is show you how to customize it like this. All right. So I hope you learned a little something, and thanks for watching.